welcome to Connect to Success with me, Ashley Owens, on 12:30 and 1 o'clock on Thursdays during your lunch break, where we talk to the power networkers over the greater Philadelphia and South Jersey area. I've had a lot of coffee today. Sorry, Dawn. So Dawn is here. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you.
I am super excited because you are the founder of PMO Training, correct? Fantastic. So tell me, where do you live? I never asked you this. Where are you from?
So I'm originally from Central PA.
Central PA, okay.
Yeah, so between Harrisburg and Penn State, in farmland area,
Right.
a tiny little town. That's where I'm from.
God. Did you grow up on a farm?
I did not grow up on a farm, but a lot of my friends did.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
When you go back home, is it just super relaxing because you're driving around like in farm country?
It's beautiful.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's really beautiful out there. Yeah, it was rated as one of the most beautiful scenic American roads.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Out where you grew up?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and I didn't know that when you don't appreciate it when
geez.
you're growing up in a place like that.
I was home for Thanksgiving, and home for me is North Jersey, and I was driving around, and I was like, oh, don't miss that, definitely miss that. Like, don't miss that, I need a Wawa. There's no Wawa in North Jersey, so a little cranky about that, but anyway. But I'm so glad that you're here. You're a power networker, in my opinion, and I would love for people to know who you are, what you do, and what makes you awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so actually to answer your earlier question as well, so that's where I'm from, but where am I now? Because there's not a lot of work in central Pennsylvania for
farming.
Yeah.
Pies.
So I actually split my time between Philadelphia, Florida, which I just got in last night. Thank God, everything worked out well.
Yeah.
And wherever I need to be. So I serve clients all over the world.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So tell me more about PMO Training.
So PMO Training, PMO stands for Project Management Office, and that's just where all of the project management stuff lives and people live, right?
Yeah.
So I believe that organizations only do two things, projects and operations. So operations is like the special crank that makes the company money, right? Or for nonprofits or governments, that serve their purpose, right? And projects are what happens when the operations does a good job. They can invest in the company so it can grow.
Right.
So imagine that you have done an amazing job with your company and you think, I'm going to build that crank in a new city. That's a project.
Got it.
Yeah. So we just deal with project land.
That's incredible.
So operations, there are a lot of operations experts and so forth. That's great. We deal with project land because project land is different.
Yeah. So when somebody calls you, what problem are they typically having? Are they in growth stages? Are they coming because there's a problem, or is it proactive or reactive?
Well, unfortunately, it's often reactive. I was
going to ask,
Yeah, I mean, and that's normal, right?
Yeah.
Most people don't change or make a call unless they need something.
Yeah, unless they're having somebody to fix a problem in some way.
That's right.
So when you're working so you broke it down into two pillars, which was projects and operations.
Correct.
And so I used to work for the PMO office at eBay. So I forgot to tell you, it's business analyst there. I know. So,
you were holding out.
I'm sorry, I know, it's a lifetime ago, but it was a nut job over there. It was crazy. It was crazy. Nuts. But the way and the process to which it ran had its moments where it was the foundation of how the business grew.
Yes.
So within the e-commerce bit to it, within the operations that kind of drove the growth, there was a lot of different amazing people in those positions, but the head of it, or the head of the Medusa, whatever it may be, right? The head of Medusa? I'm making things up.
That's
but
good.
The head of it was not communicating effectively enough for all of those pillars to be run consistently. So that's when everything kind of fell, and that's when they got sold out. So it was very interesting the way that you're talking about how those are the two pillars, because you were 100% correct, and in these businesses that I've experience in. So when you're managing your clients, how are you being that leader at the top so that way the pillars don't fall?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, our clients are generally the C-level. So, and I'm generally involved in every, situation at some point or another, or, depending on what they need, right? So our C-level clients are generally not project people.
Right. What are they typically?
So a lot of times they're the CFO. So they got their accounting degree, they got their CPA, they rose through the ranks, and now they're leading the finance organization. And what the finance people care about is the money, right? And projects can spend a lot of money. What can be great about projects is when they do a great job and they go really well, they can help the company grow, right? But unfortunately, most projects fail. And by most projects, I mean some of the best statistics I've seen, especially in the IT realm, is 30% of projects are successful, which means 70% of projects fail.
Sounds about right.
Right? Doesn't that sound about right? That's what most people say to me.
Sounds about right. Yeah. When I worked on the. I was getting tickets for. I forget the name of the program. It was the project management tool. I think it was Adaptive or something of that nature.
There are
and
lots.
a ton of them. But the biggest challenge was getting. I think they called me the timesheet Nazi because my only job was to get people's because they had to align by projects. They had to get their time in, and the CFOs were cracking down doors because the projects weren't getting billed accurately.
Right.
So. Again, to kind of reiterate your point, it was all connected in some way, but the people that are at the very top are not necessarily in the thick of it, but they have those numbers and those activities and the KTLOs that they have to, and the KPIs to make it work. So
yeah, so it's great. You were really in the belly of the beast.
Yeah,
you really were. And I feel you. And so the top level folks, right? No matter what you're using, if you're using traditional project management or Agile or whatever, they still have the same questions.
Or
are we on
waterfall.
time? Are we on time? Are we on budget? Are we going to deliver the things that we promised? What's the quality level going to be? Are our stakeholders going to be satisfied? I mean, what are the risks, right? They have all the same questions.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you need to give them answers, right? And in some cases, we have folks who now, since I started this in 2009, wow. So some of our executive friends, right, they have traveled around now and they're on their second or third job, right? And so a lot of times I get a phone call and I'll see on LinkedIn or something, so-and-so has a new job. I'd be like, hey, congratulations, you're in a new place or whatever. And 30 to 60, maybe 90 days later, I get a phone call. Come do to me again what you did to me over there. Because this place is actually worse than the last place was.
Wow. So you're going and you're training those CFOs?
So,
or the C-suite levels to kind of manage?
Yeah, so sometimes we have to train them a little bit, and that can be a little tricky, right? Because they're executives and some of them aren't as open to it as others. But if they have a problem and they need to solve it, then they're motivated, right? In other cases, many times it's about, especially if it's our second or third time working with them, it's about helping everybody else to understand what they expect. Because now they know what to expect, they know what questions to ask, and they're like, my people can't respond the way I need them to respond. Could you please help train them and coach them in being able to respond in the right way and get them all marching in the same direction, because otherwise it feels like total chaos.
You had mentioned two different types of project management and just Agile and Waterfall. What are your opinion on the two of them? What do you like better, and what has its benefits and its downfalls? I have my own opinions, but
well, we have a lot of tools in our toolkit. Right. So I just say use the right tool for the job. Right. So some and Agile is an umbrella, right? There are lots of flavors of Agile. So certain styles are better for certain things, right? And if you're building a building or you're doing the Boston Big Dig, right? Another epic fail project, right? I mean, then you probably need some traditional waterfall stuff, right? Because, I just came from Pierce College, right? Where we're teaching in the Year Up program, the young professionals, and we go through this whole thing about building a pool, right? So we call it an oasis at first. Well, what does an oasis look like in your mind?
It looks like a big pool with haze coming from the top. I'm thinking, is that it?
Beautiful.
Is that what that is? Okay, great.
Everybody has a different picture in their minds. Mine has palm trees and a waterfall.
Oh, mine's in the desert, dried, I'm like a mirage. I think I'm getting confused with the mirage and an oasis.
No, it's all good, right? So we go through this whole thing, and this course I adapted from the corporate courses that we do, right? Where we take the project the whole way through, and we start with Ms. Smith, the crazy sponsor. Guess who plays Ms. Smith if I'm running the class? The crazy sponsor, right, wants an oasis in her backyard. well, what the heck does that mean?
Yeah.
Right? What is the vision in her mind? Right? Is there mist? Is there, right? What is this oasis, right? And this happens every day in business.
Yep.
Where an executive says, I need this, go do it. Tell me when it's done.
Right.
That's the beginning of disaster.
Right. So it ends up becoming where the vision's there, what's the vision, what do they actually need the vision to be, and then how you interpret it.
Yeah, and what's the problem you're trying to solve?
Right.
Help me understand the problem you're trying to solve.
Right.
Like if the problem is, we go through this, right? If the problem is Ms. Smith wants to sell her house in 6 months, and she says she needs a pool in her backyard, is that the best solution to her problem?
Right.
Probably not.
Because she's not the expert in what she needs. She knows what she wants, but is it what she needs?
Right.
Yeah. And how do you, oh God, it's such a common theme for every industry. How do you train to navigate through talking to somebody and saying, like, this is what you think you need, but here's what you really need? Do you mush in both options in the agreement, or like how do you manage crazy clients that don't know what they need? That's what I'm really trying to ask here.
Yeah, most people, I think, can describe a symptom really well.
Ooh,
right?
My
knee hurts, my knee hurts. Well, gee, there are hundreds of reasons why your knee could hurt, right? One is stop using a hammer on it. Right? Maybe that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Right? Or, maybe you had an old football injury and it's creeping up because of the weather.
Yeah.
Right? So just like a doctor, right? I want you to describe your symptoms and I will help you, I will try to help figure out, well, why is that? And by asking some questions, right? So just like you do these interviews, right? And we never know where you're going to take it, right? I never know where it's coming either when somebody calls me and says, I have a problem, right? Or this is what seems to be happening. And I find that when executives, call me, right? It's often because they do want to talk it out.
Yeah.
And so I just tell them, just talk to me, just talk to me, and we'll get at the root of it somehow, and together.
Amazing.
Right?
Awesome. So when we return, we're going to talk to Ms. Dawn more about her tactical tips and practical takeaways in networking, especially because you work primarily with C-suite level people. So I'd love to hear your feedback on that.
Sounds good.
Thanks so much. We'll be right back.
And within 48 hours, have a permanent digital copy of your live segment to link to your social media, embed into your company website, or use in email marketing. Investing in your brand is so very important, and we can't wait to have you as a guest.
Shelter dogs aren't broken. They've simply experienced more life. If they were human, we would call them wise. They would be the ones with tales to tell and stories to write, the ones dealt a bad hand who responded with courage. Do not pity a shelter dog. Adopt one.
Say we've got grit, and we'll take it as a compliment. Because it's our uncommon drive, our spark within, that brings us together and sets us apart. We are temple made. And when others take shortcuts, when others take breaks, when others take the easy way, we take charge.
Add us on social media to watch bloopers, behind the scenes footage, previews, and more.
Welcome back to Connect to Success with me, Ashley Owens. We have Miss Dawn, who runs PMO training. I'm so freaking glad you're here because it's so interesting that I had no idea a PMO training existed. And I think it would have been super beneficial when I was working in those companies to have somebody come in and kind of take what people were already doing and manage it in a way that's more of how do we work together and not how do we continue to combat with each other. So how much coaching, not even coaching, how much I know you had said that the C-suite levels will call you and want to talk things out. How much like HR is involved and people wrangling and different personalities and maybe emotional intelligence assessments are being used? Like, how does that get framed around? Because a lot of the times it can be personnel, issues, and things aren't really mapped out the way that they thought it was mapped out. So do you ever involve yourself in that process as well?
Yeah, we have been asked to do that. Soft skills are huge.
Yeah, I bet.
So our Pierce College students are learning that project management has a 90% job of communication.
Yeah.
So if 90% of your job is communication, you better be a good communicator, right? And that's written, that's speaking, that's being able to stand up and talk about a project that's not going well and having that courage, right? It's about being confident anyway. It's about, all of those soft skills. And if your job as a project manager is to get people to do what you need them to do when you need them to do it, right?
They're gonna know, like, and trust you.
Yeah, they have to know, like, and trust you. And even if they don't, you have to get them there.
Interesting.
Right? So there are lots of ways to do that. So I gave a talk at Olympus recently, and at the end of it, I asked a few questions, and the one gentleman who had actually brought me in said, I can't believe that this was mostly about psychology.
Wow.
And I said, oh, wow, that's what you saw. That's interesting. But it's true.
Yeah.
Over time, the people who rise in the ranks as project managers, right, and you do that by delivering more and more and higher complex, more visible, more difficult projects over time, right?
Right.
You tend to learn all the psychology and all the techniques that you need to simply get people to do what you need them to do when you need them to do it.
Right. Right.
That's the key.
How do you manage clients that are the problem?
Well, I sometimes don't take clients.
That's great.
You can decide not to do that.
Right.
And sometimes it's just that they're not ready. Right. So some people, they want to talk it out, and then they want to talk it out some more, and they want to talk it out some more. It's like, okay, do you actually want to solve your problem, or you just want to keep talking to me?
Right. So you speak a lot. You're talking at Pierce College. Where else have you spoken?
So I just got back from Southeast Asia.
Can we talk about that for a minute?
That would be so fun.
Because that sounds like so much fun.
Let's
so
do
you were
that.
speaking in Southeast Asia.
Yes.
Sean, if you could do me a favor, sweetheart, and pull up her amazing pictures. Sean, if you're there. Sean, if you're there. There we go. Yeah, so tell me about this.
Oh, this is great. So this was when I ran a couple days of practical project management for everyone training in Jakarta.
Wow.
You see the tall guy in the middle there? So you
Yeah.
can see me. They're doing the Rosie the Riveter, which I didn't ask them to do that. They were just like, Dawn, put your fist up like this. I was like, that's Rosie the Riveter. I love it. And so, so the tall guy in the middle, so this is all about networking. This is how I get over to Jakarta. First of all, I've wanted to go to Indonesia for 20 years.
No kidding.
Honest to God.
No kidding.
20 years, 20 years ago, I got a postcard, like when you actually got old postcard, real postcards in the mail, from a European friend of mine who had been traveling around, and he sent me this picture from Indonesia that was spectacular. I'm like, someday I'm gonna go there.
Yeah.
So for 20 years, it's been on my list. So the tall guy in the middle is from Philly. He relocated, guess when, 20 years ago to Indonesia. He was a consultant, he goes over there, falls in love with it, stays for 20 years.
Holy cow.
So we have a common strategic partner. So I have an IT company that I used to work with, and they called. He got a hold of them, and because they wanted to do some work in Indonesia, and he said, "Hey, I want to do some different stuff with our training over here, with project management training. What do you guys have?" And they were like, "We always call Dawn. Dawn."
Wow.
So I have a few strategic partners like that. That when any of their clients say project management, they just call us.
I love that.
Which is really beautiful. And so we got on Skype several times, and I had created a project called Project Flow Process Learning System, and that's to teach the super complex Project Management Institute process. And so he loved it, it turns out. So he said, well, would you come over here? I'm like, absolutely.
Wow.
I said, I've wanted to come to Indonesia for 20 years. So he says, I'm gonna make it happen. So he puts together this class.
Holy cow.
He's like, you're coming, right?
Yeah.
He puts together this class, and He met me on Friday night. I had never met this man before in more than 2 dimensions.
Have you seen any movies from Taken? Have you
Right?
seen any of the Taken movies?
Believe me, my poor parents, every time, I'm like, guess where I get to go? And now my mom just goes,
Meet a stranger in Indonesia.
right,
Yay!
yay,
Happy
right?
holidays.
He's from Philly, it'll be fine. So
He's also a giant.
right, he's also a giant. I'll be totally fine. Yeah. So anyway, he meets me on a Friday night at the Jakarta airport. That's the first time I meet him. Friday night at midnight, he picks me up from the airport. Luckily, he was taller than everybody, and I saw him right away.
Oh my God. All right, so we have a couple more of the pictures,
Yeah,
right? Sean,
yeah,
please
so
show some more pictures.
That was the start of the trip. Yeah, this is from Olympus. This was also because of networking. So, we love the Pyramid Club,
Oh
right?
yeah, they're great.
Yep.
Fantastic.
So I went to a networking event to be my friend's groupie because she's an author also.
Who's your friend?
Eileen Santos.
Eileen, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where you and I, yeah, exactly. Sorry. Full
Yeah,
circle.
no problem. So she was on an author panel, a lady author panel. So I was just there to take pictures and be with her and hang out and do the Pyramid Club thing. And the organizer had this nice little event where she said, "Everybody stand up, meet the person next to you, and talk about something." And so I met the lady next to me, and I said, I'm the founder and CEO of PMO Training, and I happened to just come back from speaking at a conference in Seattle, and I had no business cards left. So the cardinal rule is don't show up at a networking event with no business cards, right? So I have this giant bag, right, and I happen to have takeaways from the event with my information on the bottom.
Nice.
So I'm like, okay, I don't have any cards, but I have these. So I stuff them in my giant bag, run off to the Pyramid Club. And so I give her one. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have a business card because I just ran out in Seattle. And check it out. And so she looks at this thing and she says, oh my gosh, I need to give this to these guys at Olympus.
Oh, no kidding.
Right? They're going to love it. They're working on their project management, internally, and I think they're going to love it. And they sometimes bring in speakers. Would you be willing to speak there? Would I be willing to speak at Olympics? Come on. So they have their corporate headquarters in the Lehigh Valley.
Wow.
So one of the wonderful things about this area is we have a lot of corporate headquarters here.
Right.
So
yep, Mars Incorporated's in here. Yep.
Tons, Campbell's Soup, right? We've worked with them. Olympus, plenty of corporate headquarters are here in, Delaware, Philadelphia, New Jersey area. And so what happens is if you get with the headquarters, a lot of times they're like, would you please go to these other places around the world and fix it?
Yeah. They'll just send you out there.
They're just like, please fix it because, we need help in these other areas too, so that everybody starts to speak the same language of project land, right? And so forth. So anyway, so that's how I got to speak at Olympus, was just happened to, show up at the Pyramid Club for my friend.
Amazing. And we have a few more pictures, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going. Sean, this is fun.
Okay, great. So from Indonesia.
To Malaysia? Holy cow. Did you get your shots, man? Like, I feel like that's a lot of
something.
It's a lot of traveling. I get nervous because I'll go down to Florida for Christmas once in a while to see my family, and I'm always sick when I get back.
Oh,
always sick.
That's not good.
But you traveling, you love it. You love this.
I do love this.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah, because it's so fun to meet, all these wonderful people and hear about their projects and what do they struggle with and share techniques and so forth. So this is all because the lady standing next to me there, her name's Jade, she found me on LinkedIn. Turns out if I could build an Asian twin, it'd be her.
Oh my gosh.
We think the same way about stuff.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah, she's amazing. So she's wild because she's Burmese. She was living in Kuala Lumpur, but she lived in Australia for a long time. So when you speak to her I just only met her on Skype and so forth, right? And she says, listen, you're going to be in Jakarta. You have to come speak over at Kuala Lumpur. It's an easy flight. Yeah. I said, okay.
Wow.
So I ran the decoding project management, based on the project flow game. I can teach anybody the Project Management Institute way, which is now 49 processes.
Holy cow.
It's very complex in 1 hour.
Holy crap. Are any of your is any of this online, or do they have to be in person?
We have an app now.
Let's talk about that. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And thanks to networking at the New Jersey Tech Council, I found the perfect app developers. They're Awesome.
So they're creating an app that you can take. So is it courses? Like, how does what's on the app?
So the app is it's out on you can get it by tablet because of the real estate you need for the giant process now. It's on tablet, on the Apple Store or on Google Play, and you can learn the PMI way by the game. So I took
wait. The PM. What's the PMI?
The Project Management Institute, which is another headquarters. So their global headquarters are also outside Philadelphia. But the Project Management Institute is a global gold standard in project management.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you facilitated the building of this app that has the PMO training within it.
So I've taken I created this game on paper first, the physical game, and I had taken it all over the world, like you just saw, in Malaysia, in London, all over the place. It's incorporated into many of the courses that we do, right? Because most people want to know, well, what is the global gold standard? That's good to know, right? But most people would have to go through 5 days of grueling training to get through the 750-page book. That's a manual. It's pretty rough, right?
Gives me anxiety just thinking about it.
Correct. I mean, and if you're a project management nerd like me, you're all over it. But most people are like, just give me the game for an hour. And I'll be fine. So we made it, from there, we made it an app because, I want to be able to do virtual training as well, right? So there's only one me that can fly all over the world and do stuff, right? So I thought, well, it's time to bring it to the virtual world. And so now we do micro-certifications on using the app. So we can, I can facilitate a couple of different sessions, and you could be on in your jammies and do be playing the game with other people, and in the end get a micro certification that says, I get the process, I get it.
So the micro certification and the difference between a micro and a macro certification, what would be the difference?
Well, so the micro certification that we offer proves that you know the process, right? So
But you're not a project manager.
But that doesn't mean you're a project manager.
Got it, like the PMP, right?
Correct, like the PMP, which I have. So, the Project Management Professional Certification is really for the people who are dedicated to the profession.
Right.
You're going to go through those 5 days of boot camp. You're going to study for a really long time. You're going to pass an exam. That also doesn't make you a great project manager.
Right.
So, actually doing it, right, in real life and getting the results, right, which I believe that project management is the art and science of getting results, right? That, that's where you prove that you're a great project manager. It's when you can get those results.
I love that. I'm going to have to look at the app now. Get a little micro.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's incredible. So we're running out of time, but if you could give your top 3 tactical tips and practical takeaways in your own networking strategy. So if somebody is looking to get these micro certifications, looking to be a project manager, wants to get involved maybe with you and get coaching or consultation, whatever it may be, what would be the best way in your profession that you network? What has been, especially with the C-level people that you network with, where are you going? What organizations are you a part of? If you can label that out in 3 tips, that would be great.
Okay, great. Yeah, well, the first one are referrals.
Yeah.
Right, so, C-level people talk to each other and they say, oh, I have this problem, this project has gone off the rails, or my people don't get it, or whatever, and somebody says, hey, you should call Dawn, right, here's your cell phone number, whatever. And then I get
or
the
your
text,
pamphlet.
right, or whatever, and right, exactly, my takeaway in my giant bag. And so definitely the referrals is one big thing that's been great for us. As far as where I go, I tend to speak a lot now.
Yeah, that's great.
So anytime if you're comfortable with speaking or you want to get comfortable speaking, I think that's a great way to get exposure, right, and show that what your style is and that you're an expert in the field, and then everybody sees you at the whole event, right? So I actually have a really hard time one-on-one at networking events, and I show up by myself all over the world, right? I mean, and I'm fine with that. But as far as, I'm just not as comfortable as I would like to be. Yeah. And I'm not a networking queen like you.
Gosh, I'm just a loudmouth. And your third tip?
So my third tip is on LinkedIn, right, before, if you're going to go somewhere, you see people are going to be out there to say, hey, I can't wait to meet you at whatever Ashley's next event. I see you're coming. So let's, hopefully we can meet up then. And then at least there's a little bit of preview before you get there, with someone. I like to do that since I'm not as comfortable just, walking up and saying, hey.
You'd like to be prepared.
Right, I like
Yes.
to be prepared.
Wonderful. Well, do me a favor, look into this camera right here and tell people how they can find you.
Get to us on pmotraining.com. We have a contact us page, and you can even schedule a complimentary consultation there. Choose up to 3 times that work for you. And if you mention code Ashley, that would be awesome. And then it'll come straight to me. So definitely do that.
Affiliate links, guys. Affiliate links all day. Thank you so much for being here. I'm glad that you and I got a chance to talk even more in depth about.
You were holding out on me.
I know. I'm awful. I have so many secrets. But everybody, thank you so much for watching Connect to Success on RVN TV, where we talk to the power networkers over the greater Philadelphia and South Jersey area. I'd like to thank my guest, Dawn, for being here today, and stay tuned next week for your next tactical tip and practical takeaway in networking. We'll see you next week.